My name is Patricia Johnson. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm a participant of HIV, My Life, My Story, My Dream campaign. Hey, so what I want to talk to you about today is, I guess, living with HIV and living in fear, shame, and stigma. See, you know what happened? When I was growing up, in our community, there was always a fear of somebody finding out something about you that you didn't want them to know. But I pretty much said anything I wanted to say, did anything I wanted to do. I had no limits on my life until one day something caught up with me that I was very, very ashamed of. And well, as you know, I'm sitting here and I'm talking about HIV, my life, my story, my dream. So guess what it was? It was that three-letter word, HIV. Oh my God. When I found out that I was HIV positive, I was like, oh my God. The people that used to play with me, hang out with me, get high with me, just might not want to do that anymore because I was HIV positive. I didn't have an idea of what really HIV was. But when I found out what it was, I was like, oh, Jesus, this is horrible. I'm going to die. I'm not going to make any new friends. My dream is going to be cut short. I'm not going to be around for my children, and let alone see any grandchildren. Boy, was I wrong. I met a group of women that were HIV positive, and they tucked me in and they told me about being HIV positive and how it had changed their lives and how it had saved their lives. And I thought to myself, these girls gotta be crazy, or they might be still getting high. But little did I know, they were not getting high. They were riding high for life. I met one lady in particular, well, she's no longer with us, but she was a powerful HIV advocate, and she taught me a lot of things about living with HIV positively. So one day I walked in the support group, and the women were talking, and they were laughing, and I was like, okay. I leaned over to the young lady, and I was like, what's so funny? Don't they know they dying? And she leaned over to me with her big wide smile, and she said, no, honey, we're not dying, we're living positively. And at that moment, I said, wait a minute. These women were saying they had been positive, 3 and 4 years, 5 and 6 years. I was like, but I heard that it was a death sentence and that I wasn't going to live past 2 years, and maybe I shouldn't be afraid, but I just sat there quietly thinking, what about the people in my neighborhood? If they knew about it, they surely would cast me out. And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to call my sister, and I'm going to let her know that I'm HIV positive. So I called my sister, and I was like, hey, I'm HIV positive. She's like, what? I was like, oh, God, there it goes. She's not going to love me anymore. And she said, are you sure? I was like, yeah. She's like, okay. I said, but don't tell Mom. Well, guess what? 10 minutes later, Mom called me, and Mom said, so I heard you got that stuff Magic Johnson got. And I was like, what stuff? She's like, you know, the stuff. I said, so what are you talking about, HIV? And she's like, yeah. She's like, are you all right? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I said, what about you? What do you think? She's like, well, you're my daughter. I love you. She said, you got to do what the doctors say, and you'll be fine. I said, oh, that was easy. And so I said, oh, God, so she's going to tell my dad. And my dad was in the background. He's like, she got HIV? And I said, oh, God, here it comes. And so he gets on the phone, and he goes, so you got HIV, how you feeling? I said, I'm doing fine, Dad, I'm doing good. They gave me some medicine, and I'm supposed to take it. He said, well, I've been living with diabetes mostly all my life, and I take my medication, and I'm doing fine. You just got to trust in the Lord and take your medicine. I was like, okay, that's really easy, because that was my family, and that was really a big barrier that I wanted to just break down with my family. But then, what just actually frightened me, because I had to tell my kid's father, because he needed to know, because maybe I had infected him or he had infected me. So he's from Cuba, and so I was like, oh God, how am I going to tell this Cuban guy that I'm HIV positive? He might kill me. But what happened, I told him. He really didn't understand about HIV, so kind of told him about it a little more, and kind of gave him a little education in Espanol and in English, and he understood. And during that time of my life, I was in a transition period because I was coming off drugs, and I had a lot of kids. I had not a lot, well, a lot to me back in the day was 5 kids, so that was a lot of kids. And so I said, you know what? He still likes me, but I think I want something different. I think I want my story to change, and I think I want my dreams to get bigger. Once I get off the drugs, I'm going to be able to talk to more people about this. And I was like, man, I'm not going to wait till I get off the drugs. I was in a treatment center. I started to get educated about HIV and AIDS, and I just started talking to people about HIV and AIDS. Look at that. Me, a girl from the South Side who was raised in the hood, and I just started to say, you know what? I'm Patricia, and I'm living with HIV, and if you don't like me for me, well, oh, that's just too bad. What do you know about HIV? And back in the day, people knew nothing about HIV. They just thought once you get it, you die, and that was it. Some people I told in the treatment center, they talked about me, and I just held my head up high because they were ignorant, not me, and that was my opportunity to educate. And you know what? When I started to educate those girls about HIV and AIDS, a couple more girls got tested, and guess what? They were positive. And then, in confidence, they told me. And then, in confidence, I told them about a place where I went to get support and get help, and that you no longer have to live in fear and shame. Well, look at me today. I'm standing before you. I'm saying this is the face of HIV and AIDS, and I don't have no fear, no shame. If stigma exists, which I know it do, 30 years ago, we had 30 years of a long, hard struggle of HIV and AIDS. But today, I'm here, 21 years later, telling you when they told me that I wasn't going to make it and that I was going to die, no, I'm living my dreams. I'm really living my dreams. I'm married. I've been married for 13 years to a man who's not HIV positive. I have 12, almost 13 grandkids. And, you know, I'm an HIV/AIDS activist. I'm a medical case manager. I just graduated with my associate's degree in human service management, and now I'm pursuing my BA in public health. Come on, tell me you can't live with HIV and AIDS. I even had enough nerve last year to go on in public, CBS News, no, NBC, Sun Times, Chicago Tribune, to tell my story to people that I knew who knew me from years ago and might see my face. But guess what? I wasn't afraid because I'm living, and I'm living positively. And I just want to tell you out there, if you think that HIV is a death sentence or AIDS is a death sentence, I'm here to prove you wrong. Look at me. I am doing fine. This is my life, my story, and this is my dream.